The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Theme song is going to play or not. I don't want to have it playing in the background and I don't even know. So let's check and see if the Trench Talk theme is going to play this week. There it is. You tuned into the Farron Dozier Show on mbradio.us, Trench Talk Edition, and Live Tour Sports. Catch me here Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, only on mbradio.us. How'd I do? Was that a good take? That might work. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website and mbradio.us. We gotta bless the show before we get started. Let's go. When I was in my mother's womb, I had a calling on my life to do something in the glory of God and marry it like a wife. Commit myself to his word and never be led astray. And when it's all over, when he comes, I'll be glad to see that day in the morning time. All right. Welcome to an episode of the Farron Dozier Show right here on the Military Broadcast Radio Network. That's right, MBR. Thank you for listening today. As always, we have a very important, impactful show for you here on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. If you've been checking the social media, you've seen the flyer, the banner for today's episode. I got two important conversations going on in the world today, and one of those is personal. It's about sickle cell trait, sickle cell disease. I'm a sickle cell trait carrier. Of course, if you're not familiar, I experienced what they call sickle cell trait exerts with rhabdomyolysis. Pretty much ended my military career. Come to find out that these episodes have been happening across the country in different aspects of life around sports, military, people exercising, hanging out in places like Denver, Colorado, and collapsing, and some people have died. Sickle cell trait is an inherited gene. It's a red blood cell condition. African Americans, we are number one. However, the Latin community is number two with sickle cell trait and sickle cell. And so a lot of people just are not familiar with that inherited gene, more familiar with sickle cell disease, but not sickle cell trait. We are the carriers. So each parent has to have one of those inherited genes to pass to the child for that child to be born with sickle cell anemia or a type of sickle cell disease. We'll get into that with Dr. Dabney, who's going to be up in a few minutes. But before he comes to the stage, I have two young ladies that are going to share some very important conversations. If you've been watching the news, you've been watching social media, there's just a lot of conversations around our Latin population, our Latin community. Even the whole drama from what happened on Super Bowl Sunday, which is so ridiculous, right? But here we are, and we have an opportunity to have a conversation with these two young ladies today, share what their experiences are, what they've been up to as far as taking on these conversations, not just from a social media platform, but actually in the streets, on the court of life, dealing with these conversations. So you're going to get an opportunity to hear these ladies speak and share from their perspectives, from their views, and what they've been hearing from the community as around. I'm sure we're going to talk about the ICE issues and just a lot of things that we see in the world today that are, in my view, definitely separating us with these different labels and these conversations. So many opinions about topics. And so we're going to discuss that today. But before I get into that, again, thank you for listening in. You can catch me on, I was going to say Sundays, but now you can catch me on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on KCA Radio. That's KCA Radio. You can catch me there 6 p.m. on Tuesdays. Now we moved from Sundays at 8 p.m. to now Tuesdays at 6 p.m. So I appreciate you for those who watched that episode as well. Where is all this text message and beeping coming from? I thought I turned that off. Yeah, it's off. All right, so we're going to play this PSA and then come right back and get into this conversation right here on the Farron Dozier Show, the Military Broadcast Radio Network. And if you have any questions, make sure you go to farrond.com or at Farron Dozier on all your platforms. Shout us out, what's the count? Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. Do you remember studying sickle cell in biology class? What's the Count on Sickle Cell Trait Prevention is here to bring you awareness, education, and prevention conversations around the risk factors of this inherited gene. Visit wdconsct.org.
Muchos de nosotros nos vemos afectados por la enfermedad de células falciformes a diario y un número creciente simplemente no nos damos cuenta. Los impactos de esta enfermedad afectan a todas las personas y en especialmente a las personas de color y con antecedentes diversos. Estar en servicio conmigo y con los demás a medida que creamos una mayor conciencia sobre cómo identificar y dirigir el tratamiento de los rasgos de células falciformes y ayudar a las familias a saber cómo superar el trastorno de células falciformes. WDCON
Zetovia salve, made from natural and organic ingredients, good for inflammation, poor circulation, hemorrhoids, yeast infection, lip sores, dry coughs, eye pain, minor cuts and bruises, and ready to purchase at botanicaherbalco.com. 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 All right, welcome back to again another episode of the Farron Dozier Show. Make sure you check us out on all your major streaming platforms. Right now, we're streaming from even Roku TV, right? So you can watch us on Roku TV. Just search for the MB Radio channel on there. I believe we're also on X, used to be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, things like that. And also, after the episode's over, it will also be available on all of those streaming platforms, wherever you find your podcasts as well. Even Spotify podcasts, you'll be able to watch it later on this evening. All right, so what I want to talk about first, as the ladies get themselves together, had a great week. For those of you who watched the Super Bowl, you know, I'm a Steelers fan, so that was into that. I really wasn't interested in all of that anyway. But yeah, it's good to watch football. But let's see, Saturday, I'm the co-owner of the Inland Empire Hounds. So the IA Hounds, go to iahounds.com. The IA Hounds, we end up beating the San Diego Suns. So the Inland Empire Hounds beat the San Diego Suns. Out of this season, we were tied 1-1 for each game, and we broke that tie with the win 119-110 over the San Diego Suns in our home arena at the Norton Center in San Bernardino. So that was a really good nail biting. I mean, we were up like 17 points most of the game, and then End of the fourth quarter is tied up, and then we end up winning by 19 in the overtime. So shouts out to the team for playing hard and playing well to accomplish that W. We are scheduled like 3 more games, but I don't know how those are going to play out right now. We're scheduled to go to Las Vegas on Sunday and play the Las Vegas Royals, but we'll see how that turns out in the next couple of days. And also, so Sunday, I had an opportunity to speak at church, Youth Sunday at the New Earth Christian Church, and was able to deliver a message. I believe that was shared. That was it was very effective, and it landed as far as just what it is to be human, right? And what I learned about myself this last phase of my personal development education is that I had been resisting a lot of things in life. I had been resisting, and a lot of those things were from my childhood. You know, I do a lot of conversations around reconciliation and self-forgiveness. And sometimes you got to look at life to see, you know, what's not. Sometimes we always look at life to see what it is, but do you ever take a step back and look at life and see from what it's not? And you may hear people say, oh, you know what, that's just the way life is. A lot of all the stuff going on in the world today, you know, people can say, oh, that's just the way life is. That's just the way life is. That's just the way life is. But what if I told you that that's just the way that life is, but it's also the way that life isn't? And sometimes you have to be able to take a look and see the way that life is and the way that it isn't. And for me, it was huge accomplishment in my healing and development, because I had been resisting a lot of things that I could tell the truth to myself about. I resisted not being loved. I resisted not being wanted. I resisted loss in relationships. I've been resisting even my dad's grief, passing. In grief, I've been resisting grief. And so, and able to be willing to look at that, and I have this curriculum that I'm a part of, and I actually was able to put my life in those stories inside of that curriculum and able to tell the truth to myself. And when I looked at life, I could see that life is the way it is and life is the way it isn't. And then the ability to choose life the way it is and the way it isn't. And by me choosing life the way it is and the way it isn't, I was able to look at not feeling wanted or feeling unwanted, that I could choose being wanted and unwanted the way it is and the way it isn't. I was able to choose not being loved the way it is and the way it isn't. Because I had stories in my life that I felt like that I wasn't loved, that I was abandoned by my mom, and all these childhood things that we make up that sometimes see like they're real life. And they were my truths, but they weren't the truth. And so by putting my life in those conversations, I realized at 14 years old, I made a decision that I wasn't going to be vulnerable after that breakup with my girlfriend in junior high school. I told myself I'm not going to be vulnerable, and I have to defend myself in relationships. So can you imagine living from 14 years old to 55? I'm 55. To be 55 years old, and in that span, living from I'm not going to be vulnerable. You can imagine how my life turned out. You can imagine the damage, the relationships that were damaged, that were broken. You can imagine living in I'm not going to be vulnerable and trying to have friends and then not being open enough to share your feelings and emotions, right? That's the real conversation that men have today. That we see that as a male, as a man, you can't be vulnerable. You can't be sensitive. You got to be tough. You can't cry. You can't do all these stuff that you can't do because you're a man. That is not the truth. It might have been some ways of being that we were taught to survive moments in time of heartbreak or even avoid shame, embarrassment, and disappointment. So by looking at my life, I could tell the truth to myself that I lived most of my life, probably about 53 years of my life, avoiding shame, embarrassment, and disappointment. Definitely the first 38 years, because I started this journey at 40. So I could definitely tell you today that I lived my life avoiding embarrassment, shame, disappointment. Guess what? You can't avoid those. You can try the best that you can to control your life and control outcomes, But I'm here to tell you that you cannot avoid embarrassment, shame, and disappointment. Now you can learn how to manage it. You can learn how to manage your perception and your feelings and emotions and whatever your interpretation and your perspective of those. But you can't avoid them. They're going to happen at some point in life. And what I made those mean about Farron is where the fracture happened. Not what happened, but what I made it mean about Farron. So for 41 years living, not being vulnerable and defending myself in relationships, I killed off, sabotaged relationships, whole story. But that day I chose life the way it is and the way it isn't. And in that space of choosing life the way it is and the way it isn't, I experienced a level of peace. Some people call it whole and complete. I experienced in that moment of just like, I'm whole, like I'm good. Like, and what I realized is that I was holding on to grief. I was holding on to loss. I was holding on to those emotions. But those emotions felt like they were real, right? They felt like if I had been carrying this pink spoon for 40 years, for 30 years, and every time I do something or I say something about my, and I'm feeling it and it hurts. Now you may see Farron holding a pink spoon, but all I saw in the mirror was Farron. I didn't notice that I had a spoon in my hand, that every time that I touched my face or whatever, that it would scratch me. Those were just normal pains for most of my life. But when I chose life the way it is and the way it isn't, I realized that I was holding on to grief. I was holding on to loss in relationships. I was holding on to not being vulnerable. I was holding on to not feeling loved or feeling unwanted. And the moment that I saw that I was holding on to those, I could let those go. And I realized, now, if I keep holding on to those, then I know what I'm going to get. I know what it feels like. I know the experiences that I've had for those years that I've been holding on to that, to hold on to grief, to hold on to not being vulnerable. And as soon as I realized that I could let those go and I could still experience being complete and whole, that I could choose life the way it is and the way it isn't, guess what happened? That anxiety that I carried all those years in my body, I felt it in my legs. See, for me, when I had anxiety attacks, my legs would be crippled. I could just say anxiety and I could feel it in my legs. But that day when I chose not resisting those anymore, my body got triggered and I felt it that night. But it didn't happen that night. It wasn't until I went to sleep and I woke up the next morning and I felt my body when I woke up just like in this tension. And I'm like, man, like, why do I feel like I just woke up? It's like, why do I feel like this? And then I remember the night before in the class that I had discovered and started to release and be free from those thoughts and those emotions. And I kid you not, the more that I meditated on the classwork that we did the night before, the more that I started just listening to my heart, my subconscious mind talk to me. Like that voice, when your mouth is closed, but you hear that voice talking, that voice is not you. That's your heart. That's your subconscious mind. That's where you have those deep meetings at with yourself. And it's telling you all these things that you better not do because what happened the last time you did that, and all your intuitions and all those feelings and emotions that you talk to yourself about, that's not you. You're the being that's observing that voice talk when your mouth is closed. I'll give you a second to check it. Yeah, you probably said, what voice? Yeah, see, your mouth wasn't moving, but your mind said, yeah, what voice he talking about? That's not you. And so after I was able to release that body sensation that day, I'm like, okay, so what does God have to say about these conversations that I've been dealing with all these years about shame and embarrassment, disappointment, and holding on to my emotions, especially defending myself in relationships. And what I saw in James chapter 5, I think it's 18, there's a passage that says, a scripture that says, confess your faults to one another and pray for one another. And when I saw that, I was like, well, wait a minute. The world has these opinions about what a man can't do and how he has to be with his feelings and emotions, which is a weakness in the world. But in the word, I saw that by confessing my faults to one another and praying for one another, that I could actually get my strength back. So in the world, it's weakness, but in the word, it was my strength. So then which one do I want to live from now at 55 years old? Do I want to live from the world's opinions about men, or do I want to live from what God's word says, that I can confess my faults and get my strength back and pray for one another? That's a different life experience that I have today. So there's a scriptures in the Bible, I believe it's in James as well, that says your truth will set you free. We talk about that. We talk like that. Oh man, your truth will set you free. But who the Son sets free is free indeed. And I can tell you that I'm at peace with grief around my father. I'm at peace with grief around relationships that I sabotaged, that didn't work out. And I'm free to be vulnerable. I'm free to express myself, share my feelings, and I don't have to defend my intentions. I can be responsible for how I land on people. And if I say something to someone and they are offended or they feel disrespected, I don't have to defend my disrespect or how I said that. I can just figure out what did I say that had you feel disrespectful or disrespected, and take responsibility for that. It doesn't make me weak. It doesn't make me less of a person. It's not me giving up my power. It's just me giving my power back to myself. Because maybe I do rub people the wrong way. Maybe how I talk, or maybe my body language does offend people. Maybe my personality does offend people. Maybe my character offends people. Maybe my behavior offends people. I don't have to defend that because I'm secure with who I am. And I'm aware of that. So thank you again for listening in. We got the ladies. Ladies, if you are ready to come to the deck, I'm prepared to invite you here. Again, we will have Dr. Dabney, who will be on, may join this conversation, but also definitely talk about sickle cell trait and beta thalassemia. Those are two inherited genes that maybe each person can have. And so he's going to help discuss those two conversations and talk about what it looks like on a cellular level, but also as what it looks like as pain and crisis. So let me bring up, I see one guest is ready. How you doing? Hello, hello. Are you there? Can you hear me? Oh, we got some signals. Let's see. Anna, you're on mute. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having us.
All right. How you doing today?
Good.
Good
Just,
to hear.
it's going to be a fun, exciting weekend.
All right, we're going to get into that. Thank you for accepting the invitation and coming on to share this one of these important topics that we're talking about that we've all probably are aware of across the country, right? So do me a favor, introduce yourself, and then we'll get started.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna. I created an account last year in June that's called Good Neighbors United. The reason for the name is because I grew up in Hawthorne, which is the city of good neighbors.
Mhm.
So I made this account, and it's been a lot of nonstop work, community work since then. So we're just trying to support our community however way we can. And the fact that I'm a good neighbor, we don't just help whoever's in our city, we help everyone else who's also being impacted.
Yeah. So give us some background of yourself. Growing up in Hawthorne, I'm familiar with the area. Who was Anna growing up in the city of Hawthorne? Who's Anna?
Well, I grew up in Hawthorne, and something that I've always loved about the city is that it's very diverse, and so I'm an artist, so you can see one of my paintings behind me. So recently I've been very inspired to create work. So I've been working on a lot of new pieces that hopefully I'm able to, get done soon. But so when I was young, I was always joining the art contest, and when I was little, I remember my art teachers telling me, "Hey, here's another art contest," and it got to the point where my classmates, I would say, ask them if they were gonna join, if they were gonna enter, and they said no, that we don't think there's a point in doing that. Which, I felt, I was just like, why not? You should, go go and join as well. But luckily, I entered a couple of contests, and I happened to be kind of good. So that was my memories growing up, and I still live in Hawthorne right now. So I'm around all the schools that I grew up in.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. One of my important conversations that I have is about family. What do you want to say about moms and dad? What do you want to say about your parents?
Well, I believe I am who I am today because of my parents. They, since I was little, my first language is Spanish. So growing up, there was ESL programs. They don't call it that anymore, but when I grew up, it was called ESL, English Second Language. And I'm very proud. My parents were always like, yeah, learn English, but when you're home, we're going to watch the movies in Spanish. And when I was little, honestly, I was kind of upset because whenever I watch a movie, my friends would be talking about it, and like, since the dialogue is very different, I couldn't always relate to what they were talking about. But forward now to, because of that, because of them, hey, we have to keep our culture, we have to, this is part of your identity. So I'm very thankful for them kind of forcing me to do that, because thanks to that, now my Spanish is still very good. And
I've met some people that their families stopped speaking Spanish because they wanted to, and something we're going to be talking about today with you is to belong, right? They'll sacrifice that language just to feel like they belong to a society where you're free to be who you are and keep that culture. But for some families, I've heard that they stop speaking Spanish, and that also impacted the children, my friends, in their adult life today, for not having that ability to speak Spanish.
Yeah, but I think culture in general is very beautiful. So watching the Super Bowl, there was a lot of moments that I'm always curious to know, like, if other people got certain cues. Like, there was one moment where Bad Bunny woke up a little kid from the party.
I saw that.
So that's a core memory for a lot of us, going to parties, and just like, the party doesn't end until the next day. So so I'm always curious, like, if other people might have similar similar impacts like that.
And lastly, any siblings that you want to acknowledge?
No, I'm actually an only child. I always wanted siblings, and honestly, when I would see my friends, I would always want to hang out with their siblings because I didn't have siblings. But I'm an only child. My mom says I was such a good child that she was just like, I'm good.
How was that for you growing up as an only child? But from your experience, though.
I always just wanted to have a sibling, but like, I just hung out with friends, and a lot of Latin culture, when you're very close, close family friends, you become family. Exactly. So it is what it is. But I have best friends who I consider like sisters.
Thank you for sharing that. It's so important because, again, sometimes those single children, a lot of things can go on in their mindset and feeling left out or wishing they had another sibling. But again, and I know I appreciate the Latin culture because there is a dynamic of family connectedness in that culture. So I appreciate you for sharing it that way. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going to drop you back down in the room, and then I'm going to bring up our other guest here, see what she's talking about real quick before we get both of you on the deck here. We'll be right back, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening, lady? How you doing?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh no.
We can hear you just fine.
I'm so sorry. Why can't I hear you? Let me.
All right, come. I'll bring you back up. There you go. All right, let's talk more, Anna, about your art. What was going on that had you create that site for the Good Neighbor United? What was going on in life at that moment?
So before I created the Instagram account, my husband and I saw a flyer for a protest, and we went to a protest, and you know, it was a really great protest, and it got people wanting to start getting involved with everything that's happening. So I just felt like there I wanted to do more. So that's the reason why I created it. And now through all of this work, I've connected with various groups which actually all formed around the same time. So which goes to tell you how community is responding to everything that's happening.
Right.
So it's despite the unfortunate circumstances, it's very beautiful to see how we're all supporting each other in whatever way we can.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for that. Let me see. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us?
Hi, I am so sorry. I can't hear you guys.
Can't hear? Oh my goodness.
I'm trying my best. I can see you guys mouth moving. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do. Let me see. Maybe I don't know, connecting my headphones.
I'm watching out for you. Don't worry about it. I got you. So what's your view of the state of the United States today? There's so much going on around the immigrant conversation. There's so much attack on the sense of belonging, the connectedness, the neighborhood, the unitedness that you're pointing to. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's very sad and very personal as well. So in these times, what I've noticed is a lot of people are feeling very lonely because maybe what they're seeing in the news is not necessarily kind.
Right.
So how I feel like us as humans can counter that is to keep protesting and showing people that we are here in support of them.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that aren't able to actually use their voices. So that is one of the reasons that I personally like to protest, for those who can't, and to help amplify their voices. So it's and also this is not necessarily something new to our
Right.
culture.
Right.
This is unfortunately, trauma that has been there since I was growing up. But it's to a whole nother level right now, which I just feel like we need to keep resisting. And there's, sometimes people ask me like what they can do to help. But we need to understand that there is many different ways that you can help, even if you cannot protest.
Yeah.
I can hear you guys.
Oh, you can hear.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, but proceed. Thank you.
No. Anna, thank you. I'm gonna come right back to you. I want to give her an opportunity to share, so I'll bring you right back. Thank you. What's happening, lady?
Hello, we finally make it happen. Thank you so much for having us, man. So glad to see you.
Favor. Introduce yourself so we can get started.
Oh, hi everybody. My name is Coral. I am like part of an organization that was created or born exactly like Anna's, probably the same day too. It's called Artists for La Raza. We're basically just musicians and artists from LA that we're using music to peacefully protest, and now we're fundraising money, and that's how me and Anna actually met. And me and Anna are not me and Anna, well, or both of our organizations are doing like a fundraising concert this upcoming Sunday and stuff like that. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, so just like Anna, give me some background. Who is Coral growing up as a little lady? Give us some background.
Just a little Mexican in the border town. My brain is divided into two. My official language, like my native language, is Spanglish. So me and everybody that's from my hometown, we speak fluently. Like we switch like word for word, almost like English and Spanish. I feel extremely comfortable doing that. I feel more uncomfortable just fully speaking English or fully speaking Spanish. And that's where it's an interesting culture. Like it's a border town. Is we're like most Latinos or most immigrants, many immigrants, we have like two cultures. But like my hometown is like literally like we'll go blocks to a couple of blocks and you're in another country, and vice versa.
Wow.
And we have like centuries, so we like cross because we cross so frequently, and it's just yeah, like both of the countries are my home basically.
About family, you know, we talk about moms and dads and siblings. So what do you want to say about your family? Moms, pops, siblings?
Just very proud of my family, very beautiful people. I am very blessed to have like good loving people that taught me what love is. Like I'm realizing that not everybody has that privilege, and that breaks my heart a little, but it's like, wow, like I'm really blessed to know what love is because, you know, my family taught it to me. So or showed me, you know. And just very hardworking. I'm from an a farm working community, so very, very hardworking, like honest people.
Where did the violin come into play?
So my hometown used to be, I don't think it is now, but it used to be like the poorest zip code of Arizona and like one of the country. So we were some of the our schools were one of the like the least funded, and someone created a musical program a couple of years ago, and thanks to that musical program, many of us have jobs. There's a really good like marching band program that was created, and the mariachi program that was for elementary kids, and that's why I have the violin, because someone just gave me the violin. I didn't like choose it. Now I'm like, dang, I could have chosen the trumpet, but I was like, no, like we just had resources for the violin, so they gave us the violin. It's like, I mean, but it's great. That planted a seed to like for what I do now, for sure.
Yeah, I believe I saw you in J Love's performance. I think you performed the song. That's where I first saw you. So what do you want to say touch on that experience? I mean, you perform obviously a lot, but what was that like for you? You know,
that was my first theater performance, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think I did that. I did one like in church, but like an official one. And I met Jay, the wonderful person, through like a random other project that we were doing. And I remember I drove from Phoenix to LA just for that little gig that didn't even pay that much. Paid like $50. And he's like, you drove out here? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm trying to make it. Like if I have to live off my car, and I will do it. Like I've been doing it for years. And now I'm very blessed to say that like that was like one of the first things I did out here in LA. And that kind of like brought me out here more, I guess, a little bit. So I was like driving around back and forth from Phoenix to LA. And then I was finally able to get established out here and fully live off music and arts.
No kidding. I see you perform. I see your Instagram clips. The level of courage or confidence that you have, or where did you get that from? Who do you equate that to? Your environment, your parents, peers? Where'd that come from?
For sure, I'd say my mom. I always tell her like the wings that I have, like she gave them to me because I'm a crazy child, and I feel so bad for my mom because I wish I would have been born like, you know, an accountant or something, or like have a passion for, you know, more of a normal job, not like this crazy job. So I feel so bad for my mom, but instead of discouraging me, she's like, go for it. Even though she's like, this girl is crazy. Like, you know, I know like she thinks that, but she doesn't say it to me. So thanks, God bless her for that, you know. For sure that, and then just in general, I think that just maybe the ADHD has something to do with it.
You know, as a parent and a grandparent, you know, realizing we do want our children to do things that fulfills them. It's not always about the money, right? But sometimes if you grow up in an environment where we want your life to be better than ours, and we want you to make money, and we think that it's the money that makes the life better. Sometimes it's just being fulfilled in the the expressions that we get to be about. So I appreciate you for sharing that, and I'm sure they're proud of you, regardless when they see your performances and who you are as a person. So I'm sure they're proud of that.
No, thank you, man. Likewise, likewise.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we're gonna bring Anna back to the deck here. All right, Anna.
I was just thinking the time where I actually met Coral was at another event from another friend organization. And I was just like, her performance just gave me so much goosebumps.
Right?
And like her voice is just so powerful, and it's not just singing. The way she portrays the emotions,
right?
You know, because all the arts, you know, like visual arts and performing arts are universal, and that's what it's all about, to present those emotions, and that's how people can relate to each other.
Yeah, I'd be like, yo hablo poquito español. What did you say in English? Like, what was that in English? So let's just rip the Band-Aid off the conversation. We understand there's a lot of things going on in the media. The media doesn't always paint the picture. It paints a narrative of what it wants to show in those 60-second, 2-minute clips. Anna, what do you want to say about that conversation? What do you want to, I'm going to start with you. What do you want to say about that?
There's a lot of things that I would like to say, but honestly, it's just what I feel like I have control of is just seeing how I can help the community. So my work, community work, actually changes depending on what I feel the community is in need. So right now, a lot of people, there's a lot of food insecurity. So I started focusing a lot more on that at the moment. And you know, it just being there for your people and telling them, I see you and I'm here for you. And because, you know, I work with a lot of local street vendors, and every time I see them, because I've developed a friendship with these hardworking people, every time I see them, you know, they know what's going on, but they always tell me, tengo que seguir echándole ganas, which means I gotta keep working hard. And you know, and the amount of positivity that they have,
right?
Like, it's just what helps me keep going. Like, because they inspire me, because these are people who are making an honest living, you know. To me, they are the heartbeat of the community. They've been working in these communities for over 10 years. Everybody knows them. They're always kind. They're to the point where people know that maybe they're $1 short. These people will be like, don't worry, I got you. Just, you know. So these are the kindest and hardest working people, and like, they are what America is about.
Yeah, no doubt. Corral, what I've been following you, and when all this stuff jumped off, I saw you out there performing and advocating and speaking out. So give us your perspective, your perception, your interpretation of what's going on in this world from the streets.
Well, this has always been going on, unfortunately, and to all minorities, you know, from our we can talk about so many things. It goes so much. It's not right now. What's been happening right now is that now it's like out in the open, like just blatantly. And we have phones now. We didn't used to have phones. So now we have actual footage of, you know, versus a webcam that's all blurry of a cop or something, and then missing evidence or whatever. So now we have like that clear evidence, and so people see the reality of what's happening now. Like, the brutality is like right in your face. One, so we're more aware, because I will have some people like argue with me like, oh, you know, well, this has always been happening, so it's just like it's not as bad. And I'm just like, no. Someone told me like, it's the media is putting all these bad things to make our president look bad, and I'm like, bruh, I am the migratory community. Like, I'm from a border town. I grew up seeing border patrols, and we used to have our rights like respected. We all have rights in this country, whether you're an immigrant or not, if you're a U.S. citizen or not. and it just that the rate or the level of lack of respect and the violation of our constitution, how it's being like this again, this has been happening unfortunately, but at this level, at this como we say it like in Spanish, it's just like descaradamente, meaning like now they don't even hide it. Like
Yeah.
like before they kind of used to, like cover it, but no, now it's like plain as day, and it's just horrifying to see these things and kind of being normal, and I realized like venturing out into other, because I work in film too, and just like sometimes when I go to work or do other random stuff with people that are not from the Latino community or other como se dice, other minorities, they really live like in a different planet. Like they don't see how I'm like in shock, like of like this bubble that they live in because they're white, they're privileged, or they're, sometimes you don't even have to be white, but just maybe someone very privileged with money, or then, and that's got, que bueno, that's good that you have that privilege, well, use it, or at least be aware of it. So that's it's really it's crazy. And not just with this, but like even we all have known, we todos hemos sabido that Gaza has been like, that they've been starving people, and now it's in our faces and we can see it, and then it becomes kind of normal, and that's not okay. So it's a good and a bad, it's a good thing. I think we have such a powerful tool, and now it's time to use that for better, and it's being used for better. Like it's bringing community together. We've been meeting and all this madness, at least people come together and you see hope, and I think that was that's like a silver lining, no, in all of this.
Yeah, and I appreciate you both again. For me, I had to really find my peace in this conversation, right? Because, like you said, it's been happening for centuries, not just the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We talk about centuries. This stuff has gone on, and for me, it's the labeling of it all. Because once we label one another in our ethnic background, whether it's Latin American or African American or Asian American, right? Those conversations, we forget that the white skinned community were also hyphenated, right? They were also Jewish Americans, Irish Americans, Polish Americans, right? But at was some point in history, we look at 1981, where Ronald Reagan and the guy named Lee Atwater had this bright idea to unhyphenate all the white skin to include them in the white box. And so we forget that in the white skin community, they didn't get along with each other either. So when you talk about immigrants and being from different parts of the world, we forget that marginalized second-class citizen experience is across the board for many people who came to this country, fleeing their own countries from either famine or being killed or whatever that were, just for a better opportunity. But the labeling for me is what's disheartening, because we forget that our ancestors, our great grandparents came from somewhere to bring their families here for an opportunity like you and I, the three of us, have right now, to be on this radio talk and have a conversation with one another. Like we're our ancestors' prayers being answered. But there are some people who still have that mentality from their own back culture that dislike the other races, and that's not brand new to us. And so with that being said, what's your experience of that when people talk about the label? Because I believe that as her organization's Good Neighbors United, the word says love your neighbor with the same measure that you love yourself, right? And so if I tell the truth, I don't love Farron 100% all the time. So I can't expect you to love me 100% of the time. But what do you want to say about that neighborly love that is missing more in a conversation versus it is actual on ground? Because you talk about people are still confident, they're still fighting for their love for one another, even besides what the media portrays.
I don't know, you want to go first, Anna?
Yeah. I think that we live in a world where we have the internet as access, and yes, you can find a lot of misinformation, but you can find a lot of actual information as well. So I think if people want to have the conversation, they need to get educated about what they're talking about. Because there's many times where I've been approached people wanting to have a conversation, but the points that they're trying to make are not based on logic. So to me, it's like we can't have a conversation unless you know what you are talking about.
Right.
And for me personally, it's about choosing humanity. As simple as that.
Coral?
I do want to say something kind of along those lines. Unfortunately, all this hate started like brotando, like growing because of the leader that we have. Because if your leader is being rude, if your leader is ignorant, that gives people permission to do so. And it's really sad. I tend to respect what people like. If you were a Republican, I respect it. You know, I wasn't gonna be in your face like, bro, you know. but it comes to a point, and even Martin Luther King said it. Like, it comes to a point where you not saying anything, it is a problem. Like, that's violent.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Anna, okay, there you go.
Can you? Okay, sorry. So not saying anything is violent. So right now, it's not that I'm judging you, but now it's like, okay, if you're a Latino, if you're someone that voted Republican, voted for this leader, and you're seeing the hate that it's bringing, because at the end of the day, we're all humans. Like, it doesn't matter if you're brown, if you're a guy, if you're a girl, like, we're legit all brothers. Like, we're coming from we're one race. So when you bring people and trying to be, you know, elitist, saying like, no, these type of people are better than these, you know, we were going in the right direction. You know, we had Barack Obama as president, Michelle Obama. We had two great like leaders, and we were going in the right direction. And now this wave of hate hit. So it's just like, okay, well, we're going through this, but now let's think, like, is this okay? Does it feel okay in your heart? And now it's a beautiful thing that you're seeing that people that are actually Republican or used to be like hardcore right, you know, people from the right, they're like, this is not okay. And because at the end of the day, what do we all want? We want the world to be better. We want peace, you know, we want equality, we want equity. It's just normal. We want to live in a beautiful world and where people can have opportunities and be their best version of themselves, you know. And so that no sé, that I do want to say that get, you know, be the change, go out, vote, call your senators. We actually have a lot of power, even though sometimes it feels hopeless, honestly. Some days it's just like, wow, especially when like our rights were being violated, like just like así, you know, cruelly, like when people were even like given, como se said, like a hearing, people's cars were just being opened illegally, I was just going into people's homes illegally, and it's just like, oh wow, like I honestly did lose hope for a second. And I'm very pacifist, like I've always been like, I'm against guns. Actually, I wish guns didn't exist, but I'm not gonna argue with people about it, you know. But that's just me. And now I'm like, oh my god, like for a second you're like, do we have to be defending ourselves physically now? Like, is that really? And I know that some movements, like it had to take that, people risking their lives physically to protect people. And I'm like, it shouldn't be like this. We're civilized human beings. Like, we should be able to fight with our pens. And you know, so no sé, it's really, like you said, you kind of have to like find peace with it a little bit. But the only thing that I can say with that is that don't lose hope. Remember, you still have rights. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to not open the door of your home unless they have a judicial warrant. And ICE is using fake warrants. So even if it says Homeland Security, that's not a judicial warrant signed by a judge, and it has to be signed by a judge. So make sure it's signed. And you can tell ICE, like, slip it under my door. Like, I need to see it. And if they do break into your home, record everything, say your name. give an emergency contact, and try to get either the license plate of the officer or the officer's name, because that's the best way to locate you. Because people have been disappearing, unfortunately, because our rights are being violated. But we can't lose hope. If we keep recording this, documenting this, one day we're gonna look back and all those people are gonna be in jail. I know they're gonna be in jail, because that's life. I believe that love always wins. So just stay vigilant, be safe, like just try to protect your neighbor, like Anna, like bring community, just even like just like sharing a post of where ICE was seen helps so much. You don't even have to go out and protest, because I know some people are like, dude, what? I'm scared. That's not me. And it's like, well, you don't have to. Some of us, it's easier for us to go because we're angry, and that's the best. Because if I don't go out and yell in the street, I'm gonna go crazy. So so there's so many positions that one can do to help. Again, just by sharing information, sharing your rights. Oh, and don't sign anything. You have the right to not sign anything. Even if ICE is taken, just say I have the right to remain silent and not sign anything until your lawyer is present. So just don't lose hope. Get involved in any community that you want, anywhere. Like like I said, there's a lot of beautiful organizations that were born or that have been here, and they just, that you can just join. It's really comforting to know that you're not alone.
Yeah, thank you. Anna, before we get out of here, any last words that you want to share with the people?
Yeah, just like Coral said, there's many different ways that you can help. Just look into your local orgs and see what work they're doing, and whatever you seem like you're interested in, go volunteer, learn. We have groups that specifically do food distribution, mutual aid. We have rapid response groups. There's so many. So, and also the key is to be prepared, and talk to those that are at risk. Make sure they know their rights, and tell them, hey, what is the plan if this happens? So there's a lot of resources out there. So and just keep pushing, and we're trying to do whatever we can. So this is what we're going to be focusing on this weekend.
I want to bring up Dr. Dabney is here. He's a fellow veteran as well. I just want to give him an opportunity. Dr. Dabney, you ready to come up on stage?
Yes, whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So just tell us, do I have enough room for 4 people? What am I doing? Let's find out. All right, let's see. Go ahead, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you? How's everyone else doing?
We're good. We're good. Thank you.
Good.
What do you
I'm just listening on you guys' conversation. I was actually looking at the link through Facebook.
Oh, you were? Okay. Okay.
But I had to come in and come back out again.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was listening to what you guys were saying. Guys have done a great job. Just from what I've heard. Listening to you, seeing you guys do a great job as far as educating and supporting the community, which is great.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Let me see. Okay. So, Coral, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you hanging out with us. Anna as well.
No, thank you so much, man. Really, really love what you're doing. Nice to meet you, doctor. I'll listen to you right now. Anita had to go, but from both of us, thank you so much for the time. And just quick announcement. Sorry, taking advantage of your spot. So we're doing a second fundraising concert fully for migrant families. February 15th, this Sunday in Palos Verdes at the Pacific Unitarian Church. You can look us up on social media as @Artists for La Raza or at Good Neighbors United on Instagram or Facebook, and we have all the info there. A lot of great artists just donating their time, vendors, food, like beautiful people. Just come. We're gonna have information and just try and fundraise as much money as we can for migrant families, for their legal, costs, etc., etc. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time again. Nice seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Good day.
All right, you too. All right, this is the Farron Dozier Show on the Military Broadcast Radio Network. I'm going to come right back. Dr. Dabney is here. This next piece of our conversation is so important. We're going to be talking about sickle cell trait and beta thalassemia trait, and then how they come together and express themselves. And so if you need some knowledge and understanding and some information, you're about to get it from Dr. Dabney. Up next, I appreciate you for tuning and listening to that first piece. Very important. At the end of the day, for me, it's the sense of belonging. We all, as human beings, we need to belong. We're social beings, right? And again, this country, if you look at the poem on the Statue of Liberty, it's like, where is all of that at? Where is all of that conversation at? And all of a sudden now that, people are immigrants and they don't belong here, and everybody's got their opinion about all of this kind of these discussions. And sometimes your opinion might be your truth, but it may not be the truth. And as Anna said, you might need to just get some education. It's okay to say you don't know. You don't have to always agree with somebody just to fit in a conversation, right? So again, this is the Farron Dozier Show, the Military Broadcast Radio Network. Shout us out, what's the count?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? I'm blessed, my brother.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. You know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is Sickle Cell Trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Farron Dozier Show, right here on the Military Broadcast Radio Network. I'm trying to figure out what is going on with my setup today. It does not want to act right, so we're just going to do this live. I got Dr. Dabney on deck here, and we are going to have this conversation. Very, very, very important discussion here. And let me bring him to the stage. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Man, I'm doing good over here.
It's good to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. Same here, man. You have really just sparked a lot of different ideas and conversations, and just from our last interview, there have been people that watched it.
Right. I saw a couple of different feedback from the Facebook posting that you've been doing. I appreciate you doing that. And kind of the way you do the clips, that kind of can split things up, especially with the vitamin D. That was really helpful. Getting a lot of people as far as asking a lot of questions, stimulating some different ideas I didn't know, or no one ever told me, that type of thing, which is that's the whole part of doing this. Yeah. At least on your end, my part, is kind of educating the public as well as my patients.
Yes.
So I just want to say thank you for splicing that up.
No, thank you. It's part of the good thing about being on the Military Broadcast Radio Network and being able to have these shows and chop those things up so people sometimes those 60-second, 2-minute clips are good.
Well,
like you need those,
most people, the attention span for most people is very short.
Yes.
And if you wanted to watch longer, that you can watch longer. But most of the time, people want to just get to the point. Just
get
tell
to
me
the
what.
point.
Which I understand that, but if you do that, you start missing some major pieces of it.
Exactly.
So for the most part, people want to go straight to the point. Why is this beneficial? Why should I do this? How is it going to help me? And if you go over those 2 or 3 minutes, you kind of,
they're like,
deers
I'm
in the
out of
headlight.
here. Yeah, I'm out of here. I gotta go.
Yeah, no, but I don't mind tailoring things down or making them, condensing them to hit the main points. I mean, I'm used to kind of teaching, so I used to go into a lot of elaborate details, and
no.
That's too much.
We here for the elaborate, because that's sometimes, like you said, they could go back and watch the whole episode if they need to get that more detail. But that's I believe that's the whole thing. Yeah. We lack patience for our patients. That we don't even want to just. You might miss something.
Right.
You might need to just take some time.
That's the point. Is that if I can write it, they can get the information by writing it. But when you're speaking it, you're not giving a lecture. Your time is short, so you have to be kind of mindful of how much time you have and condensing the information down. And you're right. If they want to, they can contact me. If I'm writing it, they can take notes and get in contact with me or whatever. So I don't mind that.
So this episode, I appreciate you for taking it on with me, because it is so important for people to
it's a lot of misnomers with it, and some of the misnomers are. I don't think they're misnomers. I think it's people generalize different things. If I have sickle cell trait, and you've heard this before, and I know you've heard it, I've heard it. Well, I've got sickle cell trait. Well, that means the doctor will say, well, you should not be experiencing this. Your pain should not be that bad. You should not be doing this. I says, well, if you look at what sickle cell trait, the definition of sickle cell trait, that means you have one normal gene and one defective gene. So that means that, depending on the conditions that you're under, you can still suffer the same problems as a person with full-blown sickle cell anemia. Just depending on the conditions that you're under. So they're looking at it just by in the genetic portion, just looking at, okay, you've got this good gene and that one should compensate for the rest. You still have sickle cell, small amount, but therefore, like, well, that's still a disease. That's still a disease, and it could blow up, and just based, like I said, the conditions that you're under.
Right, which is my life experience of having the exertional sickling with the rhabdomyolysis and
right. Well, I remember I told you, I have thalassemia. So I have thalassemia, beta thalassemia, beta thalassemia minor. So that means I still have it. I don't have sickle cell, but I still have some messed up beta hemoglobin is messed up a little bit. But still, I still have the same problems. My problems didn't come about until I was probably having symptoms and nobody looked at it. I wasn't bad. It wasn't until I moved from I moved from Ohio to Huntsville, Alabama, which now the elevation was really, really high. That's when it kicked in. I didn't know what it was.
Wow.
But see, it's that elevation. I was fine. Probably had some other stuff going around. I was a kid, so I wasn't really paying attention. They weren't looking. But it was there until I changed, altitudes. That's when I started having. I still didn't know what it was. Then when my wife went to medical school, we had to move from Georgia to Michigan, which was it was stressful. By that time, I was almost 40, and being under all that stress, that's when it came full blown.
Wow.
What's going on? So eventually, I think I told you this. Eventually, I had to go see the doctor. It took him a while to figure out what happened. He diagnosed me based on labs, but primarily based on how I looked. Remember I mentioned that? So he was like, He was from the Middle East. He was from Lebanon. He was in Lebanon. He said, I don't know what's wrong. I'm going to run these tests. He ran these tests. Took him about almost a month to finally figure out. He says, well, come on in. We'll do one more test. I think I know what it is. And I said, what is it? I don't know what it is. I'm testing it out. So when the test results came back positive. I didn't know what it was really. So he goes, you got beta thalassemia. I mean, I thought it was like a death sentence. I didn't know what it was. I was like, well, how did you figure it out? He was like, well, I was just curious, but beta thalassemia runs in my village. And
wow.
Like somebody from my village. I got diagnosed based on what I
look like you from the hometown. You from the town.
I was like, oh, okay. So that's how I found out. But see, the thing is, I tell people I had this disease since birth. You know, during that time, they weren't really screening for that. And my blood probably looked normal.
Right.
Because I grew up on a military. Well, my father was in the military, so we had physicals all the time. So they would have caught it. Because have you ever looked at your blood under the microscope, what it looks like?
I've just seen, not my personal, but I've seen blood,
Blood. Yeah, sometimes it can be, he showed me the different slides over time. He was saving because he wanted to show me. So some days I would go in and it would look almost normal.
Yeah.
And some days it would look like somebody, I call like scattered, what they call splattered and scattered. Some of them were broken in pieces. Some of them were normal. Some of them were not. Then it come back again. They would be almost looking okay. So that's why they really weren't really looking. But it changed. You know.
So if you could, we know that sickle cell trait is a mutation, right?
Yeah.
And
right.
That I have a very close friend of mine who was diagnosed or was told that he was sickle cell anemia. It wasn't until his mid-50s that another doctor diagnosed him as sickle beta thalassemia.
Okay.
So can you share the thalassemia side of that before we talk about what it looks like for a person with both genes? Can you kind of give a breakdown of the minor, the major, the different, and I know the A2 percentage on the electrophoresis is what we look at.
Right.
You can share that, please.
Okay. So what happens, I guess I'll give you a rundown of kind of what it is. So if you think about the word hemoglobin, so that means there's a heme group, which is attached to an iron. So heme is a protein and it's attached to an iron. So the iron is at the base or in the middle of the cell. Then you've got these globulins. There's 4 of them, and usually they're done in pairs. So let's look at the adult hemoglobin. So there's 2 alphas and there's 2 betas. Okay, so they're in pairs. So if you imagine this, the beta thalassemia is a genetic mutation of that beta globulin. So you have 2 genes that actually code for the beta. We lost you. There you go. So there's 2 genes that code for the beta. You get one from your mom and you get one from your father. So you got 2 of them. So with beta thalassemia, there's a mutation from that on that gene. So I'll go into the details. So there's different types of mutations on it, which displays a little bit differently. So for the beta thalassemia minor, you have 1 normal gene. So that gene is working fine. You know, because you got 1 from your mom, 1 from your father. That gene is working. Let's back up a bit. Let's look at just the beta part. Let's look at just that part. So you got 2 of them. So for the minor, you've got 1 normal one, and then the other one is mutated. It's not producing a lot of them. Mm-hmm. It's few. Then you've got a beta a thalassemia intermediate, which means that you've got 2 genes that are defective, but they're defective enough where they can still produce a little bit of the beta. Okay. Now the last one is the big one. It's the major one. That means you're not producing any betas at all. So why is that a problem? Well, remember I told you that there's 2 alphas and 2 betas. Okay, and there's different ones. They come in different patterns for different ones, but I'm looking at this one. Is that once you lose the 2 betas, or it could be 2 alphas. In this case, it's 2 betas. Once you lose one of them or all of them, it loses the stability of the red blood cell. The red blood cell it's not stable. That's why I think the way it was designed, it's designed like a wheel, a spoke of a wheel. So if you imagine a spoke of a wheel, you got 4 of them. You got 2 alphas and 2 betas. It could be going one's up, one's down, one's across, one's on the other side. That balances out. It's like a wheel on a spoke on a wheel. Yes. So imagine if something happened to one of those spokes.
Yes.
The wheel still works, but it's going to wobble, and eventually the wheel is going to fall apart. It's not going to work very well. That's what happens with beta thalassemia. It's a mutation where you lose a portion of your beta cells, your beta globulins, a little bit, or you lose the whole thing. And once you lose the whole thing, the integrity is gone. So the way you kind of remember it, for any globulin cell or globulins, alpha, beta, delta, whatever, which one you're talking about, if you lose that, you lose the stability. But when you lose the mutation, you're losing the amount of those globulins.
Right.
So you start off with 2. You might be lucky to have one function, and then by the time it gets on the other end with the major one, you lost the whole thing. So now you're just dealing with the two alphas, which now that's dangerous, because now that person's more prone for those cells to be broken, to break open. They're not stable anymore. So they break open. So that person suffers the fate of having a lot of transfusions, a lot of problems with swollen spleen. I mean, you name it, they're going to have a problem because you can't get it. Luckily, the beta thalassemia does not affect the fetal hemoglobin. The fetal hemoglobin is made up of 2 alphas and 2 gammas. No betas. So it only affects, remember, there's another side of the adult one. I think it's called the A2 one. That's a small amount. Right. So that's still, you see, that's actually 2 alphas and 2 deltas. You see, so the beta thalassemia only handles the adult one. It doesn't deal with the other one. It's in a small amount. You see, so you still have some little bit of protection. You still have some of those cells. I mean, the red blood cells that have it, but still, there's the condition of those cells that really make it bad.
Yeah, I've met in the community people that have sickle beta thalassemia, but they have a maybe 2 or 3% of fetal hemoglobin. So the crisis is not as bad because they still have that fetal hemoglobin.
Right. So
that's
now
keeping running.
I know that this is getting off the beaten path, but
you're good.
You got to say it. You got to say it. There's you know this. You know that there's an alpha thalassemia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the alpha thalassemia is, I'm not going to sit here and compare which one is worse, whatever, all bad, but alpha thalassemia actually it's dangerous because it actually affects the fetal and the adult.
Okay?
Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I got that right. Yeah. No, take that. Yeah, no, take that back. It's the fetal one is the 2 alphas and 2 gammas. Yeah, that's right. So if you look at it, all of the thalassemias, no, not the thalassemia, all of the globulins, whether there's fetal or the two adults, all have alpha in them. Which the only one you got left is a little bit of the portion that doesn't. So basically, what I'm trying to say is this: the alpha thalassemia is really, really bad, and people, the children that get it, if they get the worst one, which they lose all 4, because you get two genes from your mom,
right? Yeah.
2 genes from your dad. So that brings together, and you end up having the 2 pairs of the alpha. I mean of the alpha. I mean of the alpha. So that means you've got this wide spread. So once that happens, it is pretty bad because the child usually doesn't live very long because of it hits the fetal. It hits the fetal.
That's if they have alpha thalassemia disease, right? That's
correct. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Because if you look at it, fetal is 2 alphas, 2 gammas. The adult is 2 alphas, 2 betas. The adult 2 is 2 alphas and 2 deltas. So alpha dominates.
Yeah, alpha dominates.
And you get that messed up, it's really bad. So here's how it works. If you've got 4 genes, so 2 from your mom, 2 from your father. So if one of the 4, if you got, how does this work? Let's work backwards. If you got 4 of those genes that are not working or not produced, that's dangerous. Now you lost it. You lost all of you lost it all. Right. Then you've got the other one, and you lose 3 of the 4. Then you start losing 2 of the 4. That's when you've got they call it alpha thalassemia trait. So it's a trait. Now you've got 2 of them that are working, 2 of them that ain't working, but you still got some. You see, but it's like a balance. You still have some type of balance that's there. Yeah. So then it moves downward, and then you got one that's defective, the other 3 aren't. That's a silent one. Yeah. You don't even know that it's there because you still have 3 other ones that are working fine and compensate for the one that's.
So thank you for sharing that, because it is very complex, right?
It's hard.
Yeah. The blood work doesn't always portray that, right? That's why sometimes.
Well, the blood work, you have to look at. They have to be genetic testing. One thing I meant to say is that when you look at some of these tests, you'll see it like beta plus, beta 0. Right. Well, the plus means that there's a defective gene. Okay. Then there's a beta 0, which means it's part of it is messed up. But if you have beta zeros on all 2 of them, all 2 of the beta are gone. That's it. You got 2 beta zeros. That's you've wiped it out. So that's what I really wanted to talk about. You've got these letters that mean something.
Right.
It tells you whether you have letters or pluses. They'll tell you what's defective and what's not. And that's why I wanted to kind of look at, because I've seen them and patients don't know what that is.
Right.
This is well, what does this mean? All they see is if it's sickle cell trait. Oh, I got sickle cell. Well, yeah, but you have the trait. It's not the full blown thing. But they're giving no one's not really explaining it to them, and it's very hard to try to explain it to them, especially when they're just get that news that they have.
And so a person could be walking around in life, as I've seen it, that they could have sickle cell trait and an alpha thalassemia trait.
Right. So you've got 2 problems
because of the different chains, right? Because of
different yeah. So the sickle cell is on, I think it's chromosome number 11. So they're on different spots. But think about it this way. Here's how I try to break this up a little bit. So sickle cell anemia is a mutation of the beta globulin.
Right.
Now it's mutated. It does not affect the number of beta globulins. You still have 2. You can still have 2. But what it does, the sickle cell anemia portion, it affects the shape. It affects the shape.
Right.
Okay, affects the shape. So that means that the thalassemia part affects the number of betas that you have. And once the betas, so both of them are equally bad, but when you bring the 2 together, it's really bad because they're more prone. I hate kind of comparing a lot of which is worse, but when the 2 kind of get together based on certain conditions, they're more likely when the sickle cell anemia thalassemia, most likely the beta one, the beta 0, or there's no betas.
Right.
That means it's really dangerous because they're more likely to have more transfusions.
Right.
They're more likely to be sick, swollen spleens. They're going to have, jaundice. They're going to have all of these different things, and it's going to be very hard to control versus a person with the sickle cell trait. They can have these different things, but it's not going to be as intense,
And you hear a lot. What I hear a lot when people discover that, or I have conversations, and I'm dropping the awareness or just knowledge about it, they'll be like, "Oh, I've been told that I'm anemic."
So
keep me tested is what I say. Like,
so
go ahead.
You got to find out what kind of anemia
you
have. Let's say, for example, a person says I'm anemic, and I'm just take sickle cell off the table, any form of sickle cell off the table. They'll say I'm anemic, and I say, okay, which kind of anemia do you have? And they're like, what do you mean? I says, well, there's B12 anemia, there's folate anemia, and there's all types of anemias. Which one is it? One thing that really kind of helped me to explain, like, my patients, what happens to their blood work. Mm-hmm. So if you imagine this, remember I said imagine a circle, and you've got these 4 spokes going up and down across from each other. At the base of each globulin, there's iron. Okay, that's the foundation. Underneath that is the heme. Okay, the heme is the protein that kind of attracts to the oxygen. But the point is, once you lose the beta, or you lose any of the globulins, you don't have that iron. There's no iron there underneath. So basically, instead of having this 4, and you have, let's say you lose 1. So now instead of having 4 irons, you only got 3 irons. And you start losing 2, now you only got 2 irons. So you lose all 4, you ain't got no iron. I'm just using it as an analogy. So once you lose the iron, you lose the iron, or the globulin lose the iron. It doesn't matter. You're still going to be, your cells are going to be shrinking. Because remember the wheel? You start chopping away at that spoke, the wheel's going to get smaller. That's what happens. So you become anemic, and then over time, that cell, red blood cell, becomes very weak. Doesn't matter if it's sickle or if it's normal or whatever. It doesn't matter. It becomes very weak, and once it becomes weakened, it's what we call hemolysis. It breaks down, and that's a problem, because your red blood cells are supposed to be breaking down at a certain time. The normal ones break down, lasting for about 120 days at least. For people who have sickle cell anemia, or it's what, 10 to 20 days. You're not getting the normal lifespan of your red blood cells. So now it takes a while for your red blood cells to recover, and now you're kind of playing catch up when that happens.
So on a cellular level, as you so eloquently explained it on the last episode,
I hope so.
On the cellular level, that's why it's so important to understand the type of inherited genes that you have, because even if with the sickle cell, red blood cells only live 10 to 20 days, and then you add drinking soda, you add eating other types of food that's not nutritious to the body, you're shrinking that span. No,
right, you are. So so you've got some couple things. Okay, like what makes a cell grow? I mean, a lot of things make the cell grow, but I'm talking about the red blood cells. So in order for the red blood cells to grow and to divide effectively, you're going to need, just a lot of things you're going to need, but B12 and folate, that helps them to grow. Iron, gotta have. Now think about think about the red blood cell. What's in it? The heme, the heme that's in there. That's protein. You gotta have all that stuff. That actually helps stabilize the cell, help it to grow. But if you start taking away certain things, like you don't get enough B12 because of you have a poor absorption issue, or you're not eating the right foods, or you're not absorbing it, whatever, you're not going to get the proper cellular growth and cellular division.
Right.
I know sometimes people they ask me, well, why is they call it macroanemia? If my red blood cells are bigger than normal. Some of them are small, but some of them are bigger. I said, that's your body's way of compensating. So it knows that it doesn't have a lot of red blood cells. So what it does, whatever it's basically throws out the immature red blood cell out there. It's fat is grown, but it needs to be spliced up and divided so you can have the proper amount. And what happens, it throws it out there and it doesn't carry the oxygen very well. It doesn't do, it's just the body's response of let's put something out there to compensate for that, for that. So then you can have some that are small. They're growing, but they're actually losing iron or they're losing protein. So their cells will shrink up. So you can either have a combination, but I've seen some pretty bad ones, and they try to explain to me, why is my iron low, my hemoglobin's low? And I try to explain to them that if the iron's underneath, you start taking away the iron, the heme group is going to start dropping. That's going to start dropping. The red blood cell is going to drop. So everything's based on stability, balance, and you start removing those platforms away.
Right.
You're going to get a shrunk cell.
Yeah. With the newborn screening, right? So when the newborn screening comes out, and I'm not 100% certain that the sickle beta thalassemia shows up on the hemoglobin electrophoresis. They have to do more.
I'm not sure what I know that they have to do the alpha. Well, they should be doing the whole screening process. They really should be doing it. I know when my kids were born, we were living in a different state. We were living in Ohio.
Yeah.
They really didn't screen it.
Right.
For some reason, even though they had my history, they didn't do it.
Right.
It was not a secret. I mean, I have it. But when weird things are happening, looking at their kids' blood, that's when you said, oh, well, let's do this. That's what, the request of me and pediatrician, that's when they said, oh yeah, there's something going on. It's like, well, yeah, why wasn't this this done? It depends on the state. I don't know what the laws for each state is.
Well, yeah. So they say currently, again, like you're saying, most states do newborn screening, but if it's not suspected, sometimes they don't acknowledge it, or they'll just do it, but never do any kind of.
Well, that's probably the reason why, because I'm a product of the '60s. I'm a '60s baby, so yeah. They
back then,
they didn't do a lot.
The Black Panthers helped try to push that competition
right.
With the sickle dex type of.
So that's why it got missed. Not say missed. They weren't screening for it unless the kid starts having problems. Like if I had alpha thalassemia, and you're not responding, you're constantly anemic, you start having all these problems, then they would probably start screening it. But I mean, by that time, just depending on the severity of it, when you start losing three of the four are not working, or all four aren't working, that's when you start having all these major problems. Yeah.
I've had friends in their late 50s, friends of friends, hear about me being an advocate for sickle cell trait, and they know they were trait carriers, but I also was told I have this other alpha gene or another gene, but when they went to do their test, it was like, no, they've been living with sickle cell beta thalassemia their whole life. I remember as a kid, sometimes, not all the time, I was running around all the time. I was running all over the playground. I was just running, and I never had any problems with running. But I remember as I got older, I never told my parents this, but
I started having more problems with running, just shortens of breath, then it would leave and go away. I ran track, and I never had a problem. Join the army. Join the army. Never had a problem. Well, I did have a problem. But the point is that it fluctuates. Remember, mine really got worse when I changed environment and changed the altitude. And here's another thing that helped me out past my PT. When I went to Texas, I went to Texas for basic training. Okay. The altitude is below sea level. Is it below sea? Below sea level. Anyway, what I had changed environments. So when I changed environments, my body had to force itself to make more red blood cells. And that's how I was able to pass my PT.
Wow.
To get out basic training is because the run part was problem, but my body had to be reconditioned. I had to force my body by being in that environment where I had to force to get more red blood cells in. Plus, I was taking creatine.
Well, that's not good. That's not good either.
Well, I said that's when you start using your biochemistry. What did I do to make you run fast?
I learned that one before I knew I was a trait carrier, because there was an episode during the 90s where everybody was drinking creatine. We go get bulk. We go get swole up, and they're like, drink creatine. And man, I drank some creatine one time, and I felt like I was like off of a roller coaster and stuff. And they was like, I'm not drinking that stuff. But I had no idea.
Well, I knew that because I was desperate because I was kind of not passing it, and I had to get out. And that's when you started, your mind started thinking about, get this. I want ATP. How am I going to do that? What am I doing differently? What am I doing? So I got the creatine, but I was able to pass, but naturally my blood fluctuated and stuff like that. So basically, stress can cause the problem. So it was the same for the sickling effect. The sickling effect can cause the dehydration. Dehydration, changing in altitude, stress can do that. So is there something like, have you ever asked people, do if a person has sickle cell, or doesn't just say sickle cell, are they aware that it's not always sickle all the time?
I do believe people understand that.
Okay. Because
when we advocate and say, if a person has sickle cell anemia, at any given time, there could be 20, 30, 40% of their red blood cells in that phase of mutating. So not all at one time, but we describe it as that there could be a percentage at any given time. Could be.
So what happens? Well, the reason I was asking is because a lot of people think it's sickled all the time, and it's only sickled when under those conditions I had said. It or especially when you're deprived of oxygen, or when the body has to, the red blood cells have to deliver the oxygen to the tissue or to the muscle, or whatever it has to deliver there. Once it releases it, it goes back to a sickle shape.
Right.
And now it's deoxygenated.
Right.
And when it becomes deoxygenated, it flips back to its sickle shape. And then once it does that, it pops back open. So and that is bad because it's like a spring. It keeps going back and forth back. Eventually it's going to break.
Wow.
It's going to break. Wow. There was something else I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to make sure I got this in. Were you ever aware, if someone ever talked to you about the chipmunk effect? They call it chipmunk phase.
What is that?
Well, chipmunk phase it usually comes about really, really bad. People have really bad sickle cell anemia. I'm looking at like sickle cell anemia with a beta thalassemia. Basically major, but it could probably happen anytime. What happens is once you are losing the red blood cells, you become extremely anemic. So the body wants to offset this by making more red blood cells.
Okay.
And when that happens, your red blood cells are made in the bone marrow. Okay. And a lot of the times, you know, it's going to start making more red blood cells. And what I'm talking about, like the face and the head. So you get these people who have it really bad, they'll get this enlargement of the jaw. That's because the bone marrow production for the red blood cells it's trying to fill up to make room for release of more red blood cells. You'll see it on the X-ray. It's called the crew cut effect. On the X-ray, you'll see it on the skull. You can see these little, you know, like the old military, the crew cut. Yeah, you start seeing it. That's because the bone marrow is trying to widen open. It changes the effect.
No way.
Yeah, I didn't realize the one with the X-ray because I've never seen one like that. But I've read about it. But the chipmunk, I've heard about it. So that's a reason, the explanation, and I'm pretty sure it could probably happen in other places where there's bone marrow. I
have a question for you in the regards of the. I don't know if this is the mast cell that does this, but I learned. I had learned before we talked from years ago that so like when that red blood cell mutates for a sickle cell patient, right? It mutates. There's a white cell that rises up and it goes after it, like shoots the net out to grab that dead cell in the body, right? But as it's grabbing that dead cell, it could also shear the good cells because it's like a sharp net. It's like a net that comes out to grab that cell.
I don't know the effect of the net part. But I
learned that in that class.
I do know that the macrophage actually can.
So it could mess up some good cells. But I'm saying it could mess up some good cells while it's trying to.
I think what may be happening is this. What you're talking about. I think I can explain that. Okay, so let's roll back a little bit. So what happens is when your body has a defense system that's already set up, most of your abnormal things, like let's say sickle cell or bacteria or fungi or parasites, by nature they will produce a sugar. It's a sugar molecule. It's called mannose. Mannose is on them already. And mannose, there's something called the mannose lectin binding. Mannose lectin binding is a protein. And what it does is, just like it says, it's mannose lectin binding. So it binds up the things that have the mannose and basically destroys it. Sickle cell, they do produce a whole bunch of mannose, and more so than normal. Right. So what you might be thinking about is that the mannose binding protein in conjunction with the macrophages are actually trying to remove that. Yeah. That's the only thing I can think of. But put it this way: when you've got all this red blood cells that are dying and the body's trying to get rid of it, some casualties might. Some casualties may happen.
Some casualties might have some normal. Some good ones might get damaged.
Think about this. When in the spleen is a good example. You have a lot of the mannose binding actually happens in the spleen. So if you don't have enough of that mannose binding lectin, you can't clear all that debris, all that, what, I don't care what it is, it can't clear. So it accumulates. And now you've got this spleen will start to swell up with blood, and it'll swell up with everything else that's filling it if it doesn't clear it. So that was one of the things that I wrote about. Wow. Well, you didn't see it. It was called basically the mannose binding protein. And it was one of the ways that people who have sickle cell could help clear the excess. Remember I said the mannose binding protein attracts mannose. Most of the things are not supposed to be there have mannose on them. Yeah. So you can take mannose binding protein. I think one of the things that has, I can't remember, there's some foods. I know one of them, I know people ain't gonna eat no algae, so I'm not even gonna bring that up. But there are different foods that you can get that you could take. Because what happens if your body just keeps doing this over and over and over again, eventually, just like any other part of your immune system, it's gonna lose out. You can't keep up.
So you're saying before we get out of here, so you're saying that the person with sickle cell, which is why people with sickle cell trait have the spleen infection, is because when those sickle cells die off, they can get stuck in the spleen, and
that's because the spleen is where the spleen is a lymph. It's a basic part of your lymphatic system. So it filters, it removes stuff they're not supposed to be there. And one of the places is the red blood cells that are been broken open.
Right.
It goes there so the spleen can get rid of it. It breaks down to a compound called bilirubin.
Yeah, bilirubin.
So bilirubin is broken down in the liver. So if too much of it occurs, you have all this bilirubin, and that's why you have that jaundice, the yellowing of the skin, the yellow in the eyes. That's the excess bilirubin from the broken down the red blood cells. Yeah. But I'm just saying is that in the spleen, it captures stuff. And if the person's not careful, they'll basically deplete the mannose binding, lectin. They'll deplete it. And now you start having this accumulation of different things. You can't clear it. So yeah, that's just one of the different things that
it's wild because when if there was a few times, I had this particular doctor that when I went in for either a cold or I wasn't feeling well, she would do all my blood work, right?
Okay.
And again, I didn't know I was a trait carrier at this time yet, and so she would come back and call me back and be like, "Hey, I need you to come back because your bilirubin count is high. So, do you know if you have like a liver disease or something?" I'm like, "I got no liver disease. What are you talking about? I got no liver disease." So she would make me fast and then come back and do my blood work again, and it would drop, but it would still be a little bit high. But I always remembered that my bilirubin count would be high, and I was I was in the military, so I'm exercising, and I'm wondering if all that exercising was causing that to happen.
Because one of the things when you're doing exercise, and I know the extent of the exercise that you guys do or did, that you can. Remember, I think I may have mentioned that excess exercise, extreme exercise, not just extreme exercise, replaces more oxygen demand on the body. So that means that the red blood cells have to deliver more oxygen to those muscles. And with you have a problem with sickle cell, whether it's a trait or not, your body has to deliver that oxygen. And once it starts doing that, remember I said once it delivers the oxygen, it folds over, and next you keep doing that, it'll start breaking. So what ends up happening is you're destroying more of your red blood cells, and that's why your bilirubin count was going up. Normally it contains it. Right. It contains it, but if you have too much of it, it bleeds out into it bleeds out into the bloodstream.
Right.
Yeah. And then that's why it takes a while to get rid of it, because now it's considered waste, and your body has to clear it. So you're not going to urinate it out. You're just going to come out it's going to come out in your stools.
No way.
You like to recycle it because a lot of your bilirubin is actually made to make bile for your gallbladder. So it's going to try to hold some to use them. Maybe I can say this for later.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Because that's another aspect of
another aspect of getting rid of it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So that's one reason probably why you couldn't clear it as fast. Yeah, you were losing red blood cells because you're damaging it, but once you converted the bilirubin, the body wants to clear it. So one more thing, the thing about the hemochromatosis, the excess amount of iron and a lot of sickle cell that's because of the excess amount of red blood cells are being broken down. Once they're broken down, heme, which is attached to the iron, comes out. And the body wants to get rid of it. So it's going to try to get rid of as much as it can. But if it can't get rid of it, then iron starts to accumulate in the tissue. And that's never good.
And then you need a blood transfusion, which put more iron in the body.
Right. So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Careful. So it's a double-edged sword. So you have to, we call it chelation, to get rid of that iron. Yeah. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. So thank you again
you're
for today.
very much welcome. I appreciate it.
I pray that again this episode helps, because I'm as an advocate for sickle cell trait, I've taken responsibility for the other inherited genes, because a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't have the sickle cell trait, but then they talk about their anemia types of things. I'm like, well, you might want to do the electrophoresis because you could have another type. And then they come to find out they have alpha thalassemia or a beta, and they didn't even know. Yeah,
you're assuming that the doctor ran the panel, and they may not have run the panel. They go, oh, you're anemic. And then they would run something else, and then they're not running the full panel. I don't know, but you never know. Your best bet, like what you were saying, is to cover yourself to make sure that you're not missing any bases.
So we recommend just go get retested, especially if you're in that age, like I was, that there was no newborn screening.
Right.
And so those people are in their 40s and 50s now, and don't know.
I know there was one lady. She was in her 60s, and she went out of the country. She went went to Denver. They had to put her in the hospital and found out that she had sickle cell anemia. She was like, "Guys, I'm almost 7 years old. How am I gonna have?" I think the altitude.
Yeah, that's one of the worst. That's not one of the places for us to hang out at.
Well, she didn't know.
People don't know.
Yeah, but she eventually figured it out.
Wow.
And so that means that I don't know if it ran dormant. I don't know.
Well, I met people with sickle cell SS that like only had the retina issue and maybe some arm pains, but that was it. And that guy was like in his 60s. He said, I never really had any major crisis, but he did have the eye issue, and he did have some aches and pain in his arm, and that was it. I met him at one of the sickle cell conferences early on.
So this goes to show you what are these people doing or not doing in comparison to the regular population.
Right.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Again, I appreciate your time, man.
But anyway, thank you very much for everything. Yes. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, if you think of something else, let me know.
No, believe me, like I said, I got you. I
know. I appreciate all the things that you do. If you need any help, let me know.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna talk to you offline about the rhabdo conversation. Because the lady, there's the documentary that I was in, the investigative report that I was in with the military about the military and sickle cell trait and rhabdo. Kenya Evans, her daughter was one of the Navy cadets that passed away in the Navy boot camp. And I spoke to her a couple of days ago. Just happened to send her a text message from my message I spoke on Sunday, and she called me and says her third child, her youngest child, daughter, was in band practice, and the teacher was punishing them, and so they did 30 minutes of exercises, and her daughter wasn't feeling well. She ended up taking her to the hospital. Her creatinine kinase levels were 35,000, and she's not knowingly supposed to have the sickle cell trait either. So
she did not have the sickle cell trait.
She said that they have different dads, and so that this daughter, this third child, is not known to have the sickle cell trait. So what's going on, And so I'm just understanding that God is leading me to that path of the rhabdo piece of the conversation, because a lot of people just aren't aware. So now she's got to figure out, her one daughter had the trait and collapsed and died from rhabdo and sickle cell trait, and here her youngest daughter is now experiencing rhabdo in high school, and there
maybe there's something else on.
So maybe that's what I'm saying. So that's what I told her, that she'd have to figure out.
So they've looked into it, or they're looking into it now?
Right now, she's in the hospital currently. They got her CKs down to 21,000, but they had peaked at 35,000, and so they were trying to figure out.
She's out or not?
No.
Well, maybe I could. Well, I'll talk to you offline, but I maybe like to shed some light on what could be going on with.
So I told her that she needs to do another hemoglobin electrophoresis just to make sure that there's no DNA issues, but also she might need to do some other
tests, right?
Genetic panels, because there could be a muscular disorder gene that could be laying dormant.
That is true, because once that muscle starts breaking down,
right,
those people usually die of kidney.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were surprised her daughter was still alive. Like at 35,000 CKs, that's a fatal.
That's too much.
It could be fatal. So mine was 12,000, and I was at 50% kidney by the time I went back the second time that night to the doctors. And so, but yeah, I know that is something that God has put on my heart.
Well, I may be able to help. There's no chance meetings.
No doubt.
I love a good mystery.
All right. Well, thank you.
People have to deal with it, but I like trying to help to see what I can do.
That's what I'm saying. We here for a reason. So I appreciate you for your time today.
Thank
you so much.
Sir. Thank you very much, sir. You take care.
All right. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Thanks for listening in to the Farron Dozier Show on the Military Broadcast Radio Network. I hope this conversation shed some light on some different topics for you today, especially about this whole immigration conversation. Thank you to the young ladies that came on to tell their story and share. And also thank you for Dr. Dabney for coming and talking about sickle cell trait. So I'm going to drop this last PSA at the end around sickle cell. I'm out of here. Farron, at Farron Dozier on all platforms if you want to reach out. Do you have any questions? Like I said, everything's on YouTube, Spotify. You can leave messages. We'll reach out to you as we've done before and provide you some insights or whatever we can do to help give you some ammunition to take to the doctor to find out what's going on with you or your child or your family member. All right. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank you. The Farron Dozier Show. Dr. Dabney, thank you again for today's episode. Shout us out. What's the count?
Do you remember studying sickle cell in biology class? What's the Count on Sickle Cell Trait Prevention is here to bring you awareness, education, and prevention conversations around the risk factors of this inherited gene. Visit wdconsct.org.
Muchos de nosotros nos vemos afectados por la enfermedad de células falciformes a diario y un número creciente simplemente no nos damos cuenta. Los impactos de esta enfermedad afectan a todas las personas y especialmente a las personas de color y con antecedentes diversos. Estar en servicio conmigo y con los demás a medida que creamos una mayor conciencia sobre cómo identificar y dirigir el tratamiento de los rasgos de células falciformes y ayudar a las familias a saber cómo superar el trastorno de células falciformes. WDCONS.
My name is Ann Halley. I am the CEO and founder of the Rhabdomyolysis Foundation. I founded the organization in 2022 in an effort to support survivors and fund medical-related research. If you're interested in getting involved with our organization, you can visit our website at therhabdofoundation.org. You can sign up as a volunteer, or you can support our organization by donating directly on our website. And all proceeds will go to support survivors and medical research.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness one shirt at a time.
And check this out. Their brand new shirts feature broadcast beaker right on the breast pocket. A reminder that you can weather the storm, and you're never alone.
Shirts are only $25, and proceeds support giving veterans a voice. MBR's mission to teach veterans how to podcast and videocast. Because when our vets are talking, they're not overthinking. They're not second-guessing. Together, we stop the 22 stigma. Grab your shirt today at mbradio.us and hit the shop. Or go directly to toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband. That's toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband.
Suit up, stand strong.
Remember, we're unduckable together.
You're built tougher than the storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.